Okay, dear student, good evening. Yesterday we have left the topic. Today we have to carry the topic further on. My students, as I have informed you earlier, I have started from history part, modern history part, and from 10th February onwards, even Mr. Sachin Arora will join me, and then you people will be provided the two segments simultaneously, history and geography. So it is a very good opportunity for you people to prepare the background for history presently, because you are concentrating over history. From tomorrow I will do some extra work as well. For example, tomorrow I am going to send you a list of the books as well as some informations about the supplementary study. But my students, as I have told you earlier, today and yesterday I have given to you some homework. You go through the NCERT book, the basic book, class 8th. Although it appears to be you can say the book, for example, it is meant for a children, but it is not the truth. This is very meaningful book that will give you the basic insight into the subject. So that's why it is essential for you, every of you, to go through the NCERT book, class 8th. My students, I am informed about the fact that some of you are not purely English but English. So you like even the Hindi language here. So don't be scared and don't be too much, you can say, worried about that. I will take care of both of you, because even those students who are coming from English medium, at least you will write in the examination in English. So you need some workable knowledge of the English, including vocabulary. So that's why I will use English as well, but simultaneously whenever there would be the difficult words or anything else, so I will just speak in Hindi as well. And those students who are coming exclusively from English medium, I will not allow your interest to be hampered. Even you people should have the confidence that your interest will not be hampered, and you will even you people should just come in my touch. Mr. Ankur is my assistant and he will work as a bridge between you and me, and I will always take some sort of response from your side, so the class would remain to be conversational. No problem at all. Up now, yesterday, from where we have started. Once again, I am repeating my formula, and I will just continue to repeat my formula time and again. I am not in habit of going through topic to topic without any planning. For example, if you might have read modern history at your home, जैसे आप लोग अपने घर पर modern history पढ़ते होगे, you used to open one chapter, and moving from one chapter, then you are moving to other chapter, then the third chapter, then fourth chapter. For example, you have started from the Battle of Plassey, the Battle of Buxar, then you come to read about Robert Clive, then Warren Hastings, then Lord Cornwallis, then permanent settlement, then Rayatwari system, then Mahalwari system, and so on and so forth. You are moving on. मतलब आप एक चैप्टर से दूसरे चैप्टर में जाते हैं और मूव करते रहते हो, बट यू नेवर ट्राई टू डेवलप सम सॉर्ट ऑफ कनेक्टिविटी अमॉन्ग देम. You don't try to just develop some sort of connectivity, and due to the lack of connectivity, once you are moving from one chapter to other, you are sure to forget what you have read earlier. मतलब जो आप पहले पढ़ते हो भूल चुके होते हो. इस तरह से कनेक्टिविटी नहीं बन पाती है. In order to avoid the situation, I have devised a formula. मैंने एक नए फार्मूला को इजाद किया है. वो क्या है? तो माई फार्मूला इज कि आई हैव डिवाइडेड मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री इन 4 पार्ट्स. द हिस्ट्री ऑफ 18th सेंचुरी, द हिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म यानी उपनिवेशवाद का इतिहास, एंड द हिस्ट्री ऑफ नेशनलिज्म, राष्ट्रवाद का इतिहास, एंड फाइनली द हिस्ट्री ऑफ पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस एरा, मतलब स्वतंत्रता के उपरांत के भारत का इतिहास. वी हैव डिवाइडेड हिस्ट्री इन 4 पार्ट्स. नाउ it is much comfortable for you. So whenever I have selected the topic, the first part, that is the history of 18th century. Even the history of 18th century is likely to be divided in 2 subparts. The first subpart is the first half of 18th century. What is the speciality of the first half of 18th century? So this is marked by the disintegration of the Mughal Empire and the rise of regional states. मतलब जो 18th सेंचुरी का फर्स्ट हाफ जो हम आप लोगों का कवर कर रहे हैं, इसकी स्पेशलिटी, इसकी विशेषता क्या होगी? इसकी स्पेशलिटी होगी कि मुगल एम्पायर का डिमाइस हुआ है, उसका डिसइंटीग्रेशन हुआ है, और उसके डिसइंटीग्रेशन पर कई छोटे छोटे राज्य एग्जिस्टेंस में आए हैं। तो पहला स्टेज में मैं था, और उसको पहले आप लेट मी फिनिश द फर्स्ट टास्क, देन आई हैव टू डिस्कस अबाउट सम क्रिटिकल एस्पेक्ट कि इसको हम कैसे देखें, मुगल एम्पायर के डिमाइज को, उसके डिक्लाइन को, और जो रीजनल स्टेट्स का एग्जिस्टेंस हुआ है उसको हम किस सेंस में देखें, मतलब आइदर इन गुड सेंस और इन बैड सेंस, आइदर इन पॉजिटिव सेंस और इन नेगेटिव सेंस। तो दिस इज द मैटर ऑफ हिस्टोग्राफी। धीरे धीरे मैं एक चीज आप लोगों को बताऊंगा कि जैसे हम लोग जब सोशल साइंस पढ़ते हैं, यू आर जस्ट मूविंग थ्रू द सोशल साइंस, so in the social science one special thing is that in social science में every knowledge is a perspective. What is the difference between the natural science and social science? In natural science every cause is having the specific result, and any specific result is having the specific cause. But in case of social science, you can say one cause may produce more than one result, and one result may have more than one cause. तो हम लोगों को क्या होता है कि सारा नॉलेज एक पर्सपेक्टिव है। जैसे 18th सेंचुरी में रीजनल स्टेट्स का फॉर्मेशन हुआ, मुगल एम्पायर का डिसइंटीग्रेशन हुआ, उसका डिक्लाइन हुआ, तो अब उसको अच्छे सेंस में हम लें या बुरे सेंस में लें, तो एक पर्सपेक्टिव कहेगा वो अच्छा है, एक पर्सपेक्टिव कहेगा बहुत बुरा हुआ, मतलब डार्क एज आ गया, इंडिया का बहुत डिक्लाइन हुआ। दूसरा स्टेज कहेगा, दूसरा पर्सपेक्टिव कहेगा नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, इंडिया वाज मूविंग ऑन द पाथ ऑफ प्रोग्रेस इन इट्स ओन वे। इवन आफ्टर द डिसइंटीग्रेशन ऑफ मुगल एम्पायर, द प्रोग्रेस ऑफ इंडिया वाज नॉट डिसरप्टेड। In actual sense, the progress of India was disrupted with the advent of the British in India. And when did British impose the Battle of Plassey and Buxar on India and transformed Indian economy in a colonial economy? So then the bad days of India started after that. Even the disintegration of Mughal Empire could not create bad days for India. It was after all a good days, but it was the British rule which created the bad days for India. तो मतलब यही सोचने का अपना अलग अलग तरीका है जो हम देखेंगे। फिलहाल आई एम रिटर्निंग टू माई पॉइंट। आई हैव डिस्कस विथ यू इन द प्रीवियस क्लास कि देयर वेर सक्सेसर स्टेट्स। फर्स्ट सक्सेसर स्टेट्स मीन्स द ओल्ड मुगल ऑफिसर्स क्रिएटेड और कार्व्ड आउट अ सेपरेट स्टेट while making benefit from the, you can say, weakness of the central government or the Mughal emperor. So I have mentioned about the state of Bengal, you may recall. First Murshid Quli Khan, his successor Sujauddin, then Sarfaraz Khan, and finally Alivardi Khan. Then I have given you the information about the state of Awadh, that is Shadat Khan, then his successor Safdarjung, and then his successor Sujauddaulah, who will play a pivotal role in the Battle of Buxar. Later I will discuss about him in the Battle of Buxar. Then the third one state I have mentioned about, that is the state of Hyderabad, which was created by Nizam. Who was Nizam? I have mentioned yesterday. I have told you कि निजाम कौन है। तो बेसिकली एक मुगल एम्पायर था, उसका नाम था मोहम्मद शाह, पूरा नाम तो है मोहम्मद शाह रंगीला। उसने एक ऑफिसर था जिसका नाम वैसे ओरिजिनल था चिनकिलिच खान। He preferred to characterize him, or Muhammad Shah Rangila gave him the title. What was the title? That was Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. So that's why he was called as Nizamul Mulk, and right from the time his dynasty was known as the dynasty of Nizam. So Nizam or Nizamul Mulk carved out a separate state of Hyderabad in 1724, but later from Hyderabad a new state was created, that was the state of Karnataka. So four were the successor states. Then comes the turn of the rebel states. Some states were created after rebellion. So it was in this context, my student, I have discussed with you the Sikh state of Punjab, how the Sikh state was created in Punjab, and it is at this point I have left my lecture yesterday. So far I am recalling. Any problem, my guys? Any problem? Mr. Ankur, are my students okay? No problem. Yes. Yesterday, my students, I have given you some homework. Ankur asked my students ki have they started NCERT book? The basic study for NCERT book, have they started or not? Yesterday I have just give him that what are the Why are dates important in history? Second, what should be the basis of periodization of Indian history? What are the drawbacks in James Smith's periodization? What does the colonialism mean? And why is the word our past used instead of our past on the book cover page? Why in your cover page there is the term our past, not our past, our past, our past. Why? Because we are not having the single one past. The elite class was the who was the at the higher echelon of society. मतलब जो प्रॉपर जो प्रभावी क्लास है, जो इन्फ्लुएंशियल क्लास है, उसका पास्ट अलग होता है. वर्कर्स का पास्ट अलग है, विमेंस का पास्ट अलग है, ट्राइबल्स का पास्ट अलग है, लोअर कास्ट का पास्ट अलग है. मतलब सभी को, और उसमें जो प्रभावी क्लास होते हैं, जो इन्फ्लुएंशियल क्लास होते हैं, वो सोचते हैं कि अपने पास्ट को हम सबका पास्ट बना के चला दें कि भाई हमारा भारत महान, हमारा अतीत महान. बट आपका पास्ट महान हो सकता है आप एलिट क्लास के लिए, कॉमन पीपुल के लिए पास्ट महान नहीं हो सकता है, क्योंकि उन्होंने बहुत दर्द झेला है, उन्होंने कास्ट एक्सप्लॉयटेशन झेला है, वुमेन ने जेंडर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन झेला है, ट्राइबल्स ने भी जो सिविलाइज्ड पीपल है उसका एक्सप्लॉयटेशन झेला है. सो योर पास्ट would be glorious for you but not for them. So past is not the single one, past is not undivided one. You know, even the past is divided, past is more than one. So that's why they use the term our past. I think my students you are clear. And Mr. Ankur asked my students, are they going through the NCERT books? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, good. And from tomorrow onwards, my students, today most probably I will finish this first half of 18th century. Then from tomorrow I will place 5 questions for prelims, and I will ask the 5 multiple choice question of prelims here alone, and you are supposed to answer my question. You are supposed to answer my question. Be mentally prepared from tomorrow onwards. About the rebel states I have made you familiar with. So earlier you can say Sikh state, well, the successor states, then the rebel states you know, that is Sikh state, and after Sikh state then you have to move to Maratha state. My students, I have to make you familiar with the Marathas. Marathas were organized under Shivaji into a separate Maratha state despite the opposition of Bijapur kingdom and the mighty Mughals. The Maratha state turned into a large empire under the Peshwas. There was a time when the Maratha state emerged as a strong regional challenge to the Mughals but could not sustain the momentum. By the time of Peshwa Balaji Bajirao, now let me discuss one thing. Yes. Because this successor state, who has asked the question? Yeah, Prakash. Prakash, actually, here you know, this successor state was too much ambitious. Actually, they were nourishing the ambition to be independent. If they could have maintained the relationship with the Mughal Empire, so they could have been the poor subordination. There could have been the poor subordination of the state under Mughals. So they were not in a mood to get subordinated to Mughals. They just tried to behave like an independent state. And with this purpose, they had to just, you can say, break their relationship with the Mughal state. Only then they can get the objective and they can fulfill their objective. This was the reason. Then why? No, actually they were not loyal in the sense that they were going to bow down before the Mughal emperor. In fact, they were not loyal. They basically tried to maintain a fag of association with the Mughal empire. Yes, still we are associated. And whenever Mughal empire was in jeopardy, means ki if the Mughal empire was in the moment of crisis, for example, you can say Nadir Shah invaded on India. When Nadir Shah invaded on India, so Mughal Empire was at jeopardy. It was in crisis moment. So at that time, the Nizam-ul-Mulk, Shadat Khan, all the important Mughal nobles just accompanied Mughals against Nadir Shah, and they tried to extend their helping hand against Nadir Shah, because it was the crisis even for them. Because if Nadir Shah could have been successful in India, so they could not have simply destroyed the Mughal emperor, but even you can say these states which were these independent states, and even Nadir Shah could have plundered their region. So for that fear they gave support to the Mughal emperor, but it does not mean that they remain to be loyal to the Mughal emperor. It was not the case. मतलब ऐसा नहीं था कि मुगल एम्पायर के प्रति लॉयल थे, बल्कि उनको यह डर था कि अगर मुगल एम्पायर को तो नादिर शाह प्लंडर करेगा और फिर हम लोगों को भी कर देगा, तो लोग अपने रीजन के लिए भी वरीड हुआ करते थे. दैट्स वाई द रीजन. तो मैंने हिंदी में इसलिए बोल दिया कि मेरे बहुत सारे जो इंग्लिश वाले हैं, तो दे शुड ऑल्सो बी अवेयर अबाउट द फैक्ट दैट कि उनके जो नवाब हैं या नोबल्स हैं वो मुगल एम्पायर के प्रति थॉरोली लॉयल नहीं है. वो सिर्फ अपने अपॉर्चुनिटी के लिए थोड़े समय के लिए उनके साथ रिलेशन बनाए रखने का एक बहाना करते हैं. दिस वाज द रीजन. Wazir is the prime minister. Actually, you can say, in fact, particularly in second half of 18th century, my students will not find difficulty. From the second half of 18th century, I have to move towards other part. For example, whenever you will move to the second half of 18th century, so then we have to start the story from Europe and then come to the Palasi, Buxar, etc. So there we don't find problem. But here in this part of 18th century, we are having a challenge ki time and again we have to revert to the history of medieval India. So we have to revert to the history of medieval India. So that's why sometimes certain terms are being taken from the history of medieval India. And in our discussion, we have started from modern India. So medieval India is not the part and parcel of our discussion. So that's why it creates some sort of confusion for you. Here I have to give the information. Actually, Mughal created a central administration. So the Mughal central administration consists of some important officers. One officer was Wazir, that was prime minister. Then Diwan-e-Ala or Diwan-e-Kul, that was the revenue minister. Then Mir Bakshi, which was the military commander. Then comes the turn of Khan-e-Samang. He was head of the royal Karkhanas. Then Sadr-u-Sudr, he was accountable for the patronizing religion, as well as he was accountable for civil justice as well. So this was the name of the officers. Wazir was an officer and he was the prime minister. This was the case. Yeah. Sikh state, Priya, just 1 minute. Priya, there is difficulty कि Sikh state is a very long story. Whenever I will just return to the Sikh state, so once again, actually I have to stop my discussion at Maratha today, because Sikh state is a long story, but still I am just trying to give you some briefing. Priya, that is English or English? What is the case? Has he asked the question in pure English or in English? English. एक्चुअली देखो, सिख स्टेट है वो फाउंडर ऑफ सिख स्टेट गुरु नानक थे और टोटल 10 उनके गुरुज हुए. एक्चुअली सक्सेसर ऑफ गुरु नानक वाज गुरु अंगद, देन गुरु अमरदास, देन गुरु रामदास, एंड देन द 5th गुरु अर्जन देवा. So Guru Arjan Deva, some mischievous activities happened because Jahangir, he was the Mughal emperor and he assassinated Guru Arjan Deva. He tortured him to death. तो अर्जन देवा को जहांगीर ने एक तरह से टॉर्चर टू डेथ किया. यहीं से प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट हुआ. बिकॉज द सक्सेसर ऑफ गुरु अर्जन देवा वाज गुरु हरगोविंद. ही मिलिटराइज द सिख सेक्ट, ही मिलिटराइज, ही जस्ट कन्वर्टेड इट इन एज ए मिलिट्री फोर्स. तो फिर गुरु हरगोविंद के समय भी मुगल एम्पायर से थोड़ा बहुत तकरार चलती रही. उसके बाद आ गए गुरु हरराय, गुरु हरकिशन. तो दे वेर द 7th and 8th गुरु. ड्यूरिंग देयर पीरियड no major problem. Rather, you can say no conflict between the Mughal Empire and the Guruship. But the 9th Guru was Tegh Bahadur, and once again Tegh Bahadur was, you can say, treated very badly by Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb just, you can say, beheaded him for the no fault of his own. And Guru Tegh Bahadur was the quite innocent, but he was beheaded and he was, you can say, meted out a very severe punishment without any fault. So Guru Gobind Singh just, you can say, organized the Khalsa sect, and he just tried to make it a powerful military force. But Guru Gobind Singh was, after all, not a match for the Mughal Empire. So a Mughal Wazir, a Mughal governor of Punjab, Wazir Khan, just invaded Guru and defeated him. And 4 of his sons were, you can say, very mercilessly killed. So it was a great shock to Guru. And then Guru wrote a letter to औरंगजेब. औरंगजेब को उन्होंने एक पत्र लिखा, उस लेटर का नाम है जफरनामा, और औरंगजेब ने उनसे सहायता करने की भी बात की. लेकिन जब तक गुरु साउथ गए औरंगजेब से मिलने, तो he was on the way, but in the meantime Aurangzeb died. So he could not see Aurangzeb, but he met Bahadur Shah, the successor of Aurangzeb, and Bahadur Shah just gave him some assurance for the good behavior and good conduct. But in the meantime, 1708, Guru himself was assassinated by a fanatic Afghan. एक कोई बहुत ही फंडामेंटलिस्ट अफगान था जिसने गुरु को किल कर दिया. ये 1708 की बात है. उसके बाद उनका सक्सेसर हुए गुरु बंदा बहादुर, बिकॉज गुरु ने तो खुद ही कह डाला था कि अब मैं ही 10th गुरु हूं, मेरे बाद कोई दूसरा गुरु नहीं होगा. तो बंदा बहादुर was just, you can say, he took the command and fought against the Mughals. But even in 1715, at the fort of Lohgar, he was himself killed. So after Banda Bahadur, the Sikh power was dispersed for some time in northwest in Punjab. लेकिन इसी बीच क्या हुआ मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि 2 समस्या आई, एक अफगान की आई और एक मराठों की आई. अफगान आए थे अफगानिस्तान से, और अफगान जो किंग है उसका नाम है अहमद शाह अब्दाली, और जो मराठास थे जिनके बारे में मैं अभी चर्चा करूंगा वो साउथ इंडिया से गए थे. तो बोथ ऑफ देम वेर एक्टिव इन द नॉर्थ वेस्ट रीजन, एंड ड्यू टू मच एक्टिविज्म ऑफ मराठाज एंड अफगान्स, द सिख पावर रिमेन्ड सबड्यूड. जो सिख शक्ति है वो दबी हुई रही. But whenever you find कि third battle of Panipat occurred, so after the third battle of Panipat, Marathas received a major setback. So Marathas returned to South India, and even Ahmad Shah Abdali was quite unable to have the control over the region of northwest from such a distant region. So that's why even Ahmad Shah Abdali returned to Afghanistan. So some sort of political vacuum was created. So this void or vacuum was filled up by Sikh, because in 1764 1764 में कुछ सिख लीडर्स हैं अमृतसर में इकट्ठे हुए और उन्होंने स्लोगन दिया, वाहे गुरु की खालसा वाहे गुरु की फतह. यही मैंने बताया था कि वाहे गुरु की खालसा वाहे गुरु की फतह, एंड एक सेपरेट इंडिपेंडेंट सिख स्टेट की स्थापना की. तो मैं स्टूडेंट कौन प्रिया का था. Priya, your question has been answered because I have given a briefing, although it was long, but I have given a briefing. Now I am giving the briefing to Marathas. Who were Marathas? This was the original Maharashtra region, you know. This was original Maharashtra region. And Marathas, earlier you can say there were a large number of Maratha Jamindars. So Maratha Jamindars were known as Maratha Deshmukh. माने Maratha landlords थे, जो Maratha landlords को Maratha Deshmukh कहते थे. So it was among the Maratha Deshmukh there was the Shahji. Shahji was Shivaji's father. He was very ambitious man. So he just tried to carve out a Jagir in Pune. So it was Shahji. Actually Marathas को फायदा ये हुआ कि Marathas were just Maratha landlords, that is you can say Deshmukhs, they were in the region, and it was the estate of Ahmednagar, and it was the estate of Bijapur, and it was the estate of Golconda, and this was the Mughal Empire. So these 3 Deccani states, Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda, were in continuous conflict with the Mughal Empire. So as both the powers were fighting with each other, so Marathas benefited from the situation and they carved out their own region. So it was here you can say it was in this context there was a very ambitious leader, the son of शाहजी was शिवाजी. मतलब शाहजी के बेटे शिवाजी थे और शाहजी ने उनको एक पूना की जागीर दी. तो अपने पूना की जागीर से ही शिवाजी ने अपना कैरियर स्टार्ट किया था. और माने शिवाजी was very ambitious and he was very industrious. So he was just fighting against other Maratha nobles and also against the state of Bijapur as well as Mughals. And then you can say he carved out a powerful state, and finally Shivaji could create a separate state, and that is called the Maratha state in 1674. Means कि 17th century Shivaji got success in establishing an independent Maratha state that was in 1674. देखो वैसे तो मराठा की एक बहुत लंबी कहानी है, लॉन्ग स्टोरी है, लेकिन ये मेडिवल हिस्ट्री से जुड़ा हुआ है और मुझे अभी मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में कवर करना है। तो अभी अगर मैं उस स्टोरी पर जाऊंगा तो हमारा डाइवर्जन हो जाएगा और तुम लोगों को थोड़ी समस्या हो जाएगी, बिकॉज यू आर नॉट हैविंग द नॉलेज ऑफ दैट पार्ट ऑफ हिस्ट्री, सो यू फाइंड डिफिकल्टी. So that's why here I am giving you a brief idea. Means कि Shivaji could create an independent states of Marathan in 1674. He was a very industrious man, you can say. My point is that कि Aurangzeb was contemporary to Shivaji, the Mughal emperor, and Aurangzeb was very allergic to or repulsive to the Shivaji's activities. Aurangzeb was always inclined to punish Shivaji, but he was badly engaged in the politics of North India, so he could not move to South India till Shivaji alive. So he used to send the Mughal nobles and soldiers from time to time to suppress the power of Shivaji, but he himself could not, you can say, appear in the battle against Shivaji anytime, because in the meantime Shivaji passed away in 1680. शिवाजी 1680 में शिवाजी का डेथ हो गया और औरंगजेब शिवाजी को पनिश करने का स्वप्न लेता हुआ रह गया, क्योंकि शिवाजी से उसकी मुलाकात नहीं हुई. ही कुड नॉट मीट शिवाजी. एक चीज मैं और बताना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि देखो ये मराठवाड़ा रीजन है ना, दिस रीजन वाज नॉट फर्टाइल, नाइदर इट वाज डेवलप्ड फ्रॉम द व्यू पॉइंट ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स, nor you can say crafts and industries, nor agriculture. मतलब this region was economically deficient region. So when Shivaji just carved out a separate state, so there was a difficulty in Maharashtra region. In Maharashtra, the economy of Maharashtra region could not sustain a powerful state. तो मराठा जो रीजन है उसकी इकोनॉमी एक पावरफुल स्टेट को पैदा नहीं कर सकती थी. तो इट वाज द प्रॉब्लम. इसलिए शिवाजी हैज टू डिवाइज टू न्यू टाइप्स ऑफ टैक्स. यू पीपल हैव टू कीप योर माइंड, टू न्यू टाइप ऑफ टैक्स. व्हाट वाज दिस न्यू टाइप ऑफ टैक्स? तो यू माइट हैव हर्ड द नेम ऑफ चौथ. व्हाट वाज चौथ? तो चौथ वाज द 1/4 ऑफ द टोटल रेवेन्यू ऑफ ए स्टेट. Means कि when Marathas used to create a pressure over some other state, so other state was just compelled to submit 1/4 of the total 1/4 of their total revenue as चौथ. मैंने एक तरह से समझो तो एक पावरफुल फोर्स मराठा था और जिसको डिफीट करता था बोलता था कि तुम अपने टोटल राजस्व का, टोटल रेवेन्यू का 1/4 हमें चौथ के रूप में दो. तो 1/4 चौथ के रूप में ले लेता था. दैट इज कॉल्ड 25%. And then you can say another tax was Sardeshmukhi. Another tax was Sardeshmukhi. अब ये Sardeshmukhi tax था, ये क्या था? That was 10% of the total revenue. But this tax was directly going to छत्रपति. जैसे शिवाजी ने जो अपना स्टेट क्रिएट किया उसमें ध्यान करना, उसमें पोस्ट होता है. At the head of the state, when Shivaji was himself took the title like Chhatrapati Shivaji. Chhatrapati मतलब king. And he was assisted by Ashtpradhan, 8 important officers. Among the 8 important officers, the first officer was Peshwa. Peshwa was the prime minister. But later you will come to know that after Shivaji, particularly after Shambhuji and Shahu, after Shahu, it was, you can say, Peshwa who eclipsed the post of Chhatrapati. Peshwa eclipsed, Peshwa overshadowed the post of Chhatrapati in course of time. I will discuss with you. But initially at the time of Shivaji, Chhatrapati was a very powerful entity or Peshwa was prime minister. And it was Shivaji who devised this method of Chauth and Sardeshmukhi. Chauth was the 1/4 of the total revenue or Sardeshmukhi was 10% of total revenue. So this Chauth and Sardeshmukhi was the source of additional income for the Maratha state. So Shivaji could run its state with the support of Chauth and Sardeshmukhi along with the regular tax it used to collect from its own region. मतलब अपने रीजन से वो टैक्स लेते थे, वो तो लेते थे, और जिन बाकी नेबरहुड में दूसरे क्षेत्र से चौथ और सरदेशमुखी ले लेते थे. परंतु ये जो चौथ और सरदेशमुखी है, दैट विल बिकम प्रॉब्लमेटिक इन कोर्स ऑफ टाइम, बिकॉज Marathas could create the permanent enemy in the neighborhood, because those states who were compelled to give the yield the Chauth and Sardeshmukhi, So obviously you can say such states could have emerged to be the natural enemy of the Maratha state. So Maratha state could create a large number of enemies due to this system of Chauth and Sardeshmukhi. Here I will discuss this aspect later. Here anyway my point is कि Shivaji died in 1680. Then his successor was Shambhuji. अब Shambhuji was his successor. Shambhuji was not so competent as Shivaji was, and he ruled between 1680 to 1689. In the meantime, Aurangzeb, he appeared from North India, and appearing from North India, Aurangzeb conquered the region of Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda. And then in 1689, Aurangzeb just, sent his one of the important and one of the very favorite general, military general, that was Zulfikar Khan, to catch up Shambhuji. And Shambhuji, the son of Shivaji, was caught up. Aurangzeb, you can say, tortured him to death. So Shambhuji was killed. Ab Shambhuji was killed, so basic problem was that then Maratha movement became uncontrolled, because earlier the Shambhuji was at least the ruler. So if someone had to talk to Shambhuji, other Maratha nobles could at least accept the order or verdict from Shambhuji. But as Shambhuji was no more, so there was no other entity to give guideline to Maratha nobles. So Maratha nobles practically became independent. मतलब पहले शंभुजी थे तो कम से कम बाकी मराठा नोबल्स को आदेश देते थे. अब शंभुजी नहीं है तो मराठा नोबल्स को कौन ऑर्डर दे? तो क्या होगा कि जितने मराठा नोबल्स सब इंडिपेंडेंट हो गए, और ऐसा प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट किया कि औरंगजेब इसको कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाया. और औरंगजेब अंत में हैविंग बीन डिसअपॉइंटेड, औरंगजेब स्टार्टेड टू ड्रिफ्ट टुवर्ड्स नॉर्थ. And on his return journey, he died near Ahmednagar at Aurangabad. So there was the death of Aurangzeb. And in the meantime, you can say that then once again the Maratha state was recreated by Sahu. And Sahu became Chhatrapati, and Sahu appointed Balaji Vishwanath as his Peshwa. So it was Balaji Vishwanath who was the very competent man. And after Aurangzeb, Mughal Empire was weakened. So particularly after, you can say, in 1719, Farrukh Sir was the king, and Mughal Emperor was weak at that time. So making benefit from the situation, here Balaji Vishwanath could earn the power of collecting Chauth and Sardeshmukhi from the 6 Deccani states. मतलब कि अब मराठा पावर शाहू के बाद पेशवा बालाजी आ गया, बालाजी के बाद बालाजी विश्वनाथ, और बालाजी विश्वनाथ के बाद उसका सन और सक्सेसर आएगा बाजीराव फर्स्ट, वो भी एक पावरफुल पेशवा होगा. वो साउथ इंडिया से नॉर्थ इंडिया की तरफ मराठा अपना एक्सपेंशन करेंगे और मुगल एम्पायर से भी टकराएगा. दक्कन के जो जितने भी प्रोविंसेस है वहाँ से मराठा अपने चौथ और सरदेशमुखी वसूल कर रहे हैं. तो मराठा पावर एक ऑल इंडिया पावर हो जाएगा. फिर बालाजी बाजीराव के समय तक मराठाज मूविंग फ्रॉम नॉर्थ इंडिया, दे विल मूव टू नॉर्थ वेस्ट एज वेल. और उसी समय अफगान्स, अहमद शाह अब्दाली अफगानिस्तान से, वह भी नॉर्थ इंडिया पर इन्वेड करेगा. एंड एज देयर वाज द डिक्लाइन ऑफ दिल्ली, सो some sort of vacuum was created in Delhi because the Mughal emperor was very weak. As Mughal emperor was weak, so a void or vacuum was created in North India. So Afghans were trying to fill up the vacuum from Afghanistan, and Marathas just tried to fill up the vacuum from South India. So now question arises कि who had to play the role of the kingmaker, either Marathas or Afghans. Obviously you can say as both were just trying to create their hegemony means varchasva on North India. So you can say collision between the two powers was imminent, and that happened finally in the third battle of Panipat in 1761. So in third battle of Panipat, Marathas fought against Afghans, but finally you can say that Marathas were defeated at the hand of Afghans in 1761, and they had to return to South India again. तो दिस वॉज द केस हियर, यू कैन से. तो वही एक टॉपिक बच्चों हम आप लोगों से डिस्कस करेंगे कि मराठा एम्पायर जो शिवाजी ने एक स्टेट क्रिएट किया था और पेशवा ने उसको ऑल इंडिया एम्पायर बनाया. मैंने डिटेल्स में नहीं किया है, मैं आपको क्लियरली बताता हूं क्योंकि वो पूरा मिडिवल हिस्ट्री में चला जाता है और हमें तो मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में करना है. फिलहाल मैंने यह बताया कि बेसिकली क्या हुआ कि बालाजी विश्वनाथ ने जो दक्कन के 6 स्टेट्स में जो चौथ और सरदेशमुखी को कलेक्ट करने का अधिकार ले लिया, तो मैंने कलेक्ट करने का अधिकार ले लिया, तो चूंकि अब चौथ एंड सरदेशमुखी तो जो कलेक्ट किया जाता था, सो फॉर दैट द मराठा पावर हैड टू क्रिएट अ प्रेशर ओवर द इंडियन स्टेट्स, सो ओनली थ्रू द सेंट्रल कमांड और सेंट्रल आर्मी इट वाज नॉट पॉसिबल टू कलेक्ट द चौथ एंड सरदेशमुखी फ्रॉम द 6 डेक्कानी स्टेट्स. ओके, so Balaji Vishnath divided the right of collection of Chauth and Sardeshmukhi among different Maratha families. So consequently you can say that there was the formation of a Maratha confederacy in course of time. It was just like a feudal structure. Peshwa was in the center, apart from Peshwa, Holkar from Indore, Gayakwar from Baroda, Sindhia from Gwalior, Bhosle from Nagpur. So there were 5 houses. Peshwa was in the center, and then the other Maratha nobles, like for example Holkar, Sindhia, Gayakwar and Bhosle. But these other entities and the other Maratha nobles were not ready to accept the lordship of the central command. So you can say subversive forces or you can say centrifugal forces became active. Centrifugal मतलब क्या हुआ कि सेंट्रल जो कमांड है वो कमजोर हो गया, वीक हो गया, क्योंकि पेशवा के आदेश को बाकी मराठा नोबल्स मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं होते थे, तो उससे उनका स्ट्रक्चर कमजोर हो गया. इसको कहा जाता है मराठा कॉन्फेडरेसी, और मराठा कॉन्फेडरेसी का कैरेक्टर फ्यूडल हो गया. अब आपके मन में क्यूरियोसिटी होगी कि ये फ्यूडल क्या होता है. फ्यूडल में क्या होता है कि जो सेंट्रल कमांड होता है वीक हो जाता है, और जो सेंट्रीफ्यूजल फोर्स होता है, सेंट्रीफ्यूजल का मतलब है जो इधर उधर भागने वाला फोर्स, वो पावरफुल हो जाता है. तो वही मराठों के साथ हो गया, और दिस वाज द major reason behind the defeat of Marathas in the third battle of Panipat at the hand of Afghans. तो मैं यहां पर अब मराठे के बारे में आपका परिचय करना चाहता कि मराठाज में बहुत सारे हाउसेस हो गए हैं. देखो, पूना का पेशवा, इंदौर का होलकर, नागपुर का भोसले, ग्वालियर का सिंधिया और बड़ौदा का गायकवाड़. तो 5 टुगेदर वे आर नोन एज Maratha Confederacy. So these were the rebel states about the Marathas. So here my students, I have made you familiar with the Maratha states. This was, you can say, Maratha states. Here I am just going to deal with you. Rebel states में here you can say, then Maratha states I am dealing with Balaji Bajirao, or then comes the next one, this the Jat state. Jat state and Afghan state. Yes. Okay. Actually, देखो, खुशबू, yes, खुशबू, I am just making you clear. देखो, अब suppose this is Maratha state. This is Maratha state. So this is called Maratha state originally, where the Marathas were having the direct control. Marathas were having the direct control over some region. So this region was known as, this is known as, that is called, region is Swaraj. Swaraj was the Maratha region which was under the direct occupation of Marathas, and the region where Marathas were having its hegemony and collecting the Chauth and Sardeshmukhi, so that is called Mughtai. Mughtai. My students, here you should know, in their own region they have developed the healthy taxation system. As normally, मतलब ये इसी तरह की चीज है कि आप अपने घर की चीजों को अच्छे से डील करते हो और बाहर से आप लूट के लाते हो, माने you are outside region, you are plundering. So Chauth Sardeshmukhi is just like the plundering, because in Swaraj region where you are just ruling on your own people, so you are treating well with your own people, because you have fixed the you can say taxation system in your own region in a very healthy manner, ki 1/3 of the total production, and the people are supposed to give you the tax, and you are the head of the state. So as in other regions, so even the Maratha people were giving the tax to their own government. But when Marathas were moving to Nizam's region or other regions, so they were just, you can say, creating the pressure over other regions. They have they have created the pressure and compelled them, you have to yield Choth and Sardeshmukhi to us in return of your safety. Otherwise, I will plunder your region. And Choth was the 25% of the total revenue collection of that region. And Sardeshmukhi was the 10% of the total collection of revenue of that region. So, my student, from Mughtai region, they were collecting Choth and Sardeshmukhi, and from Swaraj region was their own region where they could have collect the tax in a very healthy manner. मतलब मैंने आपको बताया कि देखो अपने रीजन से चौथ एंड सरदेशमुखी वो नहीं लेते थे। अपने रीजन में तो अपने लोगों के अपने पीपल के साथ बड़ा अच्छा बिहेवियर करते थे, जैसे बाकी स्टेट के लोग करते हैं। जब बाकी दूसरे रीजन में जाते थे तो प्लंडर करके चौथ एंड सरदेशमुखी उनको कहते थे कि आपका जो टोटल रेवेन्यू है उसका 1/4, नाम ही है चौथ, 1/4 हमें दे दीजिए और 10% आप हमको सरदेशमुखी के रूप में दीजिए। तो 35% उनका रेवेन्यू डकार जाते थे, स्वालो कर जाते थे। दिस वाज द केस। Nizam was a title and Nawab was a status. Nawab was ki I have in studies class I have told you actually in Suba administration there were two officers. You might have heard the name. One officer was, I have told you in Suba administration, Nandini, you were present in the class, studies class. I am expecting from you you might have been present there. There I have told you ki Mughal created a Suba administration. Suba administration means provincial administration. In provincial administration, there were two officers of equivalent value or equivalent status. One officer was called Subedar, another officer was called Diwan. So earlier the Subedar and Diwan were both different entities, माने दो officers थे, दोनों अलग अलग थे। लेकिन आगे चलकर क्या हुआ कि जब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कमजोर हो गया तो जो प्रोविंशियल रूलर थे, they have usurped the power. They have usurped the power and they have combined both the post provincial Diwan and provincial Subedar. So both combined together came to be known as Nawab. और जहां तक निजाम का सवाल है तो मैंने पहले ही आपको कहा है कि निजामुल मुल्क एक टाइटल था जो मुगल इंपेरर के द्वारा दिया गया था। तो निजाम एक टाइटल है और नवाब एक पोस्ट है। Ritesh, have patience. I will deal with a question in 2014. In 2014, you find a question: why did all the earth-shaking battles take place in Panipat alone? In UPSC 2014. In 2014, you will find the question: the third battle of Panipat occurred in 1761, and why did the earth-shaking battles take place in Panipat alone? So I will just deal with this question. So Ritesh, please have the patience. After finishing this topic, I have to deal with two questions. One of that questions you have just raised the issue. I will discuss this question. Ritesh, Sachin, actually you have read the question. Actually Maratha developed a very bad habit like Roman Empire. Actually एक बात तुम जान लो, किसी को अगर मुफ्त में खाने की आदत हो जाती है तो वो पैसे खर्च करके नहीं काम करना चाहता। या समझ सकते हो कि किसी को अगर आदत हो जाती है नेचुरल कोर्स में बिना काम किए हुए अर्न करने का और लोगों से ऐड कर खाने का, तो फिर उसको काम करने का जी नहीं करता है। So the same happened in case of Marathas. It is said that the Maratha Empire was just like the Roman Empire, because even Roman Empire earlier used to meet its expenditure through plundering the others' regions. And Roman Empire didn't try to develop its own economic base. So that's why it could not sustain for a longer time, particularly after the invasions from Germany, particularly after the barbarous German invaders start invading the region. The same happens in case of Marathas. Marathas were having the very good opportunity. They could have had the control over the fertile region of Krishna Tungabhadra Doab and even fertile region of Gangetic Basin. But Marathas didn't like to have the direct control over even the fertile region or to promote agriculture and industry among their own people, but rather they prefer to take the easy money while plundering the other regions, or from other regions they were taking, they were collecting the money like Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi. It was a forced money which was collected from the defeated party. So that's why Marathas developed a habit of collecting easy money in place of working for the development of their people. This was the weakness of the Maratha Empire. Sakshi, why have you raised this question? Anglo-Mysore war happened. I will deal with the Anglo-Mysore war later, subsequent period. Please, Sakshi, in 18th century, I have already sent you the study material in advance. Make me be clear, because it is your initial class. So in initial class 2 and 3 classes, you people will find some difficulty because you have to understand my scheme first. Firstly, I have to deal with the history of 18th century up to the Battle of Buxar and the Diwani of Bengal. Then I have to start the topic like colonialism, and it was in the topic of colonialism there is the first stage. What is the first stage? The first stage is the mercantile phase. There I will deal with, first of all, the first Anglo-Mysore war, then you can say the second Anglo-Mysore war, the first Anglo-Maratha war, the second Anglo-Maratha war, and then we'll reach up to 1813, and then once again 1813 onwards in the next one phase. So Sakshi, you have to wait for the next one class. Whenever I will deal with the topic mercantile phase of colonialism, there I will deal with Anglo-Mysore war. Please here remain confined up to the first half of 18th century presently, and then the second half of 18th century. Maratha Confederacy means a group of Maratha nobles. Actually, I have told you, in fact, Balaji Vishwanath was basically, he was appointed as a Peshwa, and he earned the right of collecting Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi from 6 Subaj of Deccan. From Deccani states, he earned the right of collection of Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi from the Mughal Empire. So actually it was very difficult for a single one or central command or Chhatrapati, or you can say the central government, to collect the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi in such a vast area, because whenever you are collecting the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi, so the states didn't submit the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi willingly or peacefully. Rather, they need some sort of military pressure, and it was not possible for the central command to create all-round pressure alone. So that's why Balaji Vishwanath just divided the collection of Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi among different Maratha nobles. मतलब उसमें होता ये था कि जब बालाजी विश्वनाथ ने मुगल एम्पायर से राइट लिया कि हमको चौथ एंड सरदेश मुखी कलेक्ट करना है, तो जानते थे कि अकेला सेंट्रल कमांड की बूते की चीज नहीं है कि हम इतने बड़े एरिया में उसको हम कलेक्ट कर लेंगे। उन्होंने क्या किया कि बाकी मराठा नोबल्स के साथ उसको डिवाइड कर दिया। जब उसको उन्होंने डिवाइड कर दिया तो क्या है कि अलग अलग मराठा हाउस पैदा हो गया, जैसे होलकर, जैसे देखो अब जिनको उन्होंने राइट दिया कि भाई आप कलेक्ट करिए, वो तो कलेक्ट कैसे करे, उसके लिए तो उनको पावर चाहिए, तो उन्होंने अपनी लश्कर बनाई, लश्कर मतलब आर्मी बनाई, तो आर्मी बनाई तो पावरफुल हो गए। तो उसी तरह से होलकर पावरफुल हो गए, सिंधिया पावरफुल हो गए, बड़ौदा के गायकवाड़ पावरफुल हो गए, और नागपुर के भोसले पावरफुल हो गए, और पूना का पेशवा उनके सेंटर में था, और उसके 5 एंटिटी हो गए, नागपुर के भोसले, बड़ौदा के गायकवाड़, ग्वालियर का सिंधिया और इंदौर का होलकर। तो 5 कलेक्ट, यू कैन से 5, the 5 of them you can say combined together came to be known as Maratha Confederacy. In the center of Maratha Confederacy was Peshwa, and then the other constituents were just nearby them. So my students, once again I am returning to the topic, because please understand my scheme. We are dealing with the first half of 18th century. Let me finish the first part, then I will naturally move to the second part, and give me at least, my student, 5 to 6 days. I will make you the things the crystal clear. But if you will disrupt the class time and again, so then you will be more confused then, because if you will allow me to move freely, so within 2 to 3 classes, I will make you everything crystal clear. So please allow me to move further. So here you can say Maratha state. Here the Maratha state I have given the information. By the time of Peshwa Balaji Bajirao, a Maratha confederacy. This was Maratha confederacy. Maratha confederacy, my student, is just like you can say Maratha. 5 nobles were combined together, was known as Maratha confederacy. It was the feudal-like structure. Feudal-like structure. In center Peshwa, then Bhosle. Later we will come to know, had come into existence. The Peshwa of Pune was at the helm of this confederacy, and its other constituents were the Sindhiyas of Gwalior, the Holkars of Indore, the Bhosle of Nagpur, and the Gayakwar of Vadodara. So Vadodara or Baroda is the one and the same. The Marathas not only established their supremacy over Delhi, but also tried to drive out Afghans from Punjab region. However, after their defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat, the Marathas returned to south. So that is the clear. Now we are just talking about the Jat states. Who were Jat? The Jat were basically cultivators. But among the Jats, you will come to know that most of the Jats were the peasants. They were peasants. Most of the Jats were the peasants, and you know, they were the cultivators. But some of them were the landlords as well. Because in Jats you will find the 2 different layers or hierarchy. At the upper ladder there were the Jat Jamindars or landlords, and the lower level there was the common, you can say, plebeians or the peasants. So it was the case. So there was the Gokul Jat. He was a landlord. So basically, what was the reason behind the revolt of the Jat? So Irfan Habib is just trying to even link this phenomena with agrarian crisis or agrarian discontentment. But the immediate cause was that there was Mughal governor Abdul Nabi in Mathura. His name was Abdul Nabi. He was a Mughal governor. So he demolished a part of Kesav Rai temple. Kesav Rai temple means the temple of Lord Krishna. Even today you will go to Mathura, you will find that just by the side of the Mathura you will find Idgah. Some sort of, you can say, in the side of Mathura you will find there is a mosque and temple side by side. So it was the governor of Aurangzeb who demolished a part of the temple, and that's why you know it became the immediate catalyst behind the revolts of Jats under Gokula Jat in 1667. But Aurangzeb could suppress the revolt of Gokula Jat. But in once again 1685 there was the rise of Rajaram Jat, and Rajaram Jat, you can say, did some daring work. You will be surprised to know that he surprisingly attacked even Akbar's tomb at Sikandara in Agra. Sikandara, he invaded Akbar's tomb, and surprisingly he even put the Akbar's tomb to fire. Even his tomb was damaged by this Rajaram Jat. But anyhow, Aurangzeb could have suppressed this revolt of Rajaram Jat as well. So Rajaram Jat को भी औरंगजेब ने दबा दिया. So then comes the Churaman Jat, and successor of Churaman Jat was Badan Singh. So it was Churaman Jat and Badan Singh who could have established under the 1685 and made the same fate. Later Jat state was established under the leadership of Churaman Jat and Badan Singh. It was Churaman Jat and Badan Singh who could have created a separate Jat state, independent Jat state after revolt, you can say. And later you might have heard about a Surajmal Jat. He was known as Jat Ulysses. Jat Ulysses means Socrates of Jat. Surajmal Jat. So this was the case. And then I am talking about the Afghans, the Rohilla Afghans. The Rohilla state was established in the north of Abad. Here I am giving the information. This was just 1 minute. I am making you clear about the Rohilla state. Dekho, this is Abad. This was Rohilla state. Later Abad conquered this Rohilla state or annexed Rohilla state. So this was, you can say, Ali Muhammad Khan who carved out a separate Rohilla state. So it was also through the revolt he could have created a separate a separate Ruhela state. So in this way you can say among the rebel states I have counted 4. One is Sikh state, another is Maratha state, Maratha Confederacy, you know. Third one is the Jat state near Mathura, Agra and Delhi, Jat state. And fourth one, Afghan state, that is known as Ruhela state. So these are the rebel states, you know. Then we are going to observe here Jat states and Afghan states. So Muhammad Khan Bangas, and then you can say Najib-ud-Dawla and Hafiz Ahmad Khan. And Hafiz Ahmad Khan were some of the most important Rohilla chieftains. And Muhammad Khan Bangas founded an independent state of Farrukhabad in Uttar Pradesh. That is another state. That is another Afghan state. And all these states were created through revolt. Then independent states. Independent state, what does it mean? Here I have to make you clear. Just observe here. Among the independent states, you find the name Mysore, Calicut, and Travancore. So which are the independent states? Here I have to make you clear. Dekho. So here you find a separate Hyderabad state that is created after, you can say, successor states Nizam-ul-Mulk. Carnatic state was carved out from the state of Hyderabad. Okay, this was the Mysore state, and this Mysore state was lying outside the periphery of the Mughal Empire. What I have told you is, so far I have made you familiar with those states who were just created out of the Mughal region. For example, you can say successor states: Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, and Karnataka. All the 4 states were the successor states, and they were created out of the Mughal region. Then there were rebel states like Sikh state, Maratha state, Jat state, Afghan states. They were also created out of Mughal region. But these independent states means these states were lying outside of the periphery of the Mughal Empire. They were not the part of the Mughal Empire. For example, you can say Mysore state. This was the successor of the old Vijayanagara Empire. In Vijayanagara Empire, you can say that there was one Odyar dynasty. So there was a king of Odyar dynasty. His name was Chikka Krishnaraj. The king was Chikka Krishnaraj. And then this king Chikka Krishnaraj, so his rule was supplanted by Hyder Ali. And Hyder Ali seized the power from Chikka Krishnaraj. He was a military commander, very ambitious, so he laid the foundation of his own dynasty. So successor of Hyder Ali was Tipu Sultan. So Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan could have created the powerful Mysore state. So this is, you can say, the independent Mysore state. Then I am coming to, this is Travancore. Travancore at the southwestern tip of the Indian subcontinent. So on the southwestern tip of Indian subcontinent, there is the state of Travancore. There you will come to know about 2 very competent rulers, that is Martand Barma and Ram Barma. Martand Barma and Ram Barma. So Martand Barma is given the credit to have expelled Dutch from India. Martand Barma is given the credit. Martand Barma was a very competent ruler, and he expelled Dutch from India. He is given the credit for that. And then his successor was Ram Varma. He was very enlightened person. It is said about Ram Barma, he used to bring and he used to hire the journals, and he used to, you can say, import the journals from outside, magazines, papers and journals. He was in regular touch with the European papers and journals. So enlightened he was. So this was the state of Travancore. And this was the state of Calicut. Calicut, you can see, this was the state where Vasco da Gama anchored his ship by the side of Calicut. And who was the ruler of Calicut? Jamurin. So actually, my students, you will find here that there were also other independent states. For example, Cochin, for example, Chirkakal. These were also independent states. But I have mentioned only 3 important states: Mysore, Travancore and Calicut. That is the outside of the periphery of Mughal Empire. So my friends, now come to this conclusion. Disintegration of Mughal Empire. disintegration of Mughal Empire. Okay. Okay. अब now successor states. मतलब मुगल एम्पायर का डिसइंटीग्रेशन हुआ और उसके बाद सक्सेसर स्टेट्स कौन है? माय स्टूडेंट्स, इंग्लिश वाले आप लोग दिक्कत तो नहीं महसूस कर रहे हो? डू अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट और नॉट? क्योंकि मैं इसेंशियली, देखो कुछ तो इंग्लिश आपको चाहिए होगा राइटिंग में भी, आप तो जानते ही हो, तो कुछ एक वोकेबलरी के लिए, कुछ चीज़ों के लिए आप हमारे साथ कम्युनिकेट करो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा। और जो भी इसेंशियल चीज़ें होगा मैं हिंदी में बोल दूंगा। एंड दोज स्टूडेंट्स हु आर कमिंग फ्रॉम इंग्लिश बैकग्राउंड, their interest will never hampered, their interest will never be hampered. You are in my attention, so under my attention, so please be confident. और किसी को भी दिक्कत हो तो प्लीज आप बताओ, क्योंकि मिस्टर अंकुर इज वर्किंग एज ए ब्रिज बिटवीन यू एंड मी, एंड आई एम वेरी 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 सेंसिटिव टुवर्ड्स योर नीड। तो पॉइंट इज दैट कि सक्सेसर स्टेट्स का मतलब हुआ कि पुराना जो मुगल ऑफिसर्स था उन्होंने स्टेट को क्रिएट किया। उसी में मैंने 4 स्टेट के नाम कहा था आपको। One is Bengal, second is Awadh, third is Hyderabad, और fourth is Karnataka. These are the 4 states. Then comes the state that is called Rebel states. Rebel states में सिख, मराठास, then जाट्स, अफगान्स। और थर्ड कहते हो इंडिपेंडेंट। इंडिपेंडेंट मीन्स कि स्टेट्स outside of Mughal periphery, outside of Mughal periphery. Mughal periphery, which were these states? That is called Mysore, Travancore, next Calicut. So these are the 3 states, my students. Now these are the total. How many states I have dealt with? 4, 4, 8 or 3, 11. Total 11 states I have dealt with. Here I have simply given to you the information that there was the demise of Mughal Empire, the mighty Mughal Empire, and at its graveyard there was the creation of a large number of states. Some of the states were the successor states. Some of the states were the, some of the states were the successor states. Some were the rebel states, and some states were lying outside the periphery of the Mughal Empire. तो मतलब कुछ स्टेट्स हैं जो पुराने जो मुगल ऑफिसर्स हैं उन्होंने क्रिएट किए हैं, कुछ स्टेट्स हैं जो विद्रोह करके, जो रिवोल्ट करके बने हैं, और कुछ स्टेट्स ऐसे हैं जो मुगल एम्पायर के पेरिफेरी से, मुगल एम्पायर की परिधि से, मुगल एम्पायर के रीजन से बाहर क्रिएट हुए हैं। तो यही मैंने बताया है अब तक। अब माय स्टूडेंट्स, यू हैव टू कोऑपरेट विथ मी, क्योंकि हमें एक डिबेट डिस्कस करना है। डिबेट यह है कि इसको हम डिक्लाइन माने, क्या हम इसको डार्क एज माने, या हम इसे एज विथ न्यू पोटेंशियलिटीज माने। मतलब चूंकि जो हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल हिस्टोग्राफी है, जो ट्रेडिशनल हमारे हिस्टोरियंस हैं, वो कहते हैं कि सब कुछ लूट गया, बर्बाद हो गया, मुगल एम्पायर डिस्ट्रॉय हो गए, और उनके ग्रेवयार्ड्स पर जो स्टेट्स आए वो कहीं ना कहीं डिक्लाइन को दिखलाते हैं। तो दे आर शेडिंग देयर टीयर्स ऑन द, you can say, demise of the Mughal Empire. They are shedding on the tears on the demise of Mughal Empire. वह मुगल एम्पायर के डिमाइस पर अपने आंसू बहाते हैं। But a large number of but some other scholars have come with a fresh ideas, and according to them कि no, even the successor states were the competent enough to give the better government, not you can say this government was, and you can say the better government. It was not, you can say, it was not inferior to the Mughal Empire or the governance created or the government of the Mughal Empire. And it is equally true that these states could have patronized art and literature, in their own respective regions. They could have given the better government. This is the truth. And they also believe that कि why you are mourning over, मतलब आप क्यों शोक मना रहे हैं मुगल एम्पायर को मरने का, आप खुशियां क्यों नहीं मना रहे हैं कि हिंदुस्तान में समृद्धि आ रही है, प्रॉस्पेरिटी आ रही है। यही टाइम है कि प्रेशियस मेटल, अमेरिकी प्रेशियस मेटल यूरोपियन कंपनीज के माध्यम, उनके मेडिएशन से आपके यहाँ आ रहा है। यूरोपियन कंपनीज प्रेशियस मेटल ला रहे हैं, आपके यहाँ कैश क्रॉप्स की खेती हो रही है, आपको पूरे इंडिया में इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी आ रही है। तो व्हाई आर यू शेडिंग टीयर्स एंड मॉर्निंग ओवर द डिमाइस ऑफ द मुगल एम्पायर। तो इनका आर्गुमेंट ये है। तो यही बात देखो बच्चों, हमें इसको देखना है और तुम लोग हमें एश्योर करोगे कि तुम लोग इसको समझ पाए कि नहीं। अब here my students, I have dealt with this topic. You have to pay attention to it, and even you people are just owning this study material. The controversy regarding the 18th century. What is the controversy regarding the 18th century? The basis of portraying this era as the Dark Age. Actually, some of the scholars have just characterized it as the Dark Age. Point first, this period, first half of 18th century, is marked by the political disintegration. And the political disintegration, this is the sign of Dark Age. Point two, it was also considered as the period of economic decay and decline. But recent studies present a different view in the context of 18th century. According to this view, instead of calling this period as a period of decay and disintegration, it should be seen as a period of new possibilities and opportunities. या new possibilities के साथ साथ आप new potentialities, न्यू पोटेंशियलिटीज का मतलब होता है नई संभावनाएं। मतलब एक मत कहता है कि देखो भाई अंधकार का युग है, डार्क एज है, मुगल एम्पायर कहाँ था, उसकी जगह छोटे छोटे स्टेट्स आ गए, मराठा ब्रिगेड्स है वो लूटपाट मचा रहे हैं, चारों तरफ पॉलिटिकल अपहेवल्स है, उथल पुथल है, और इकोनॉमिकली भी मुगल एम्पायर क्राइसिस से जूझ रहा है, मुगल एम्पायर संकट का शिकार है, क्राइसिस का शिकार है। मुगल एम्पायर वाज फेसिंग द एक्यूट इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस, सो इट वाज जस्ट द मोमेंट ऑफ क्राइसिस, यू नो, according to the traditional view. And opportunity on the following ground, the concept of dark age has been discarded. लेकिन अब इस आधार पर डार्क एज के कॉन्सेप्ट को डिस्कार्ड किया गया है। पॉइंट फर्स्ट, multiple state system has always remained an important feature of Indian polity. This multiple state system suits the geographical and cultural diversity of India. मतलब देखो, पहले कहा जाता था कि are you mentally alert or not? Pay attention to it. In fact, there was the earlier view कि empire was always the symbol of progress. And empire is supposed to be a progressive phenomena, but the regional state system or multi-state system was supposed to be a sign of or symbol of decline. It was the earlier view, but now it is widely believed that whenever you are observing the whole Indian history, will come to realize that there is the few era of Indian history and very limited era of Indian history which is marked by the expansion of empire. But in the most of the period of Indian history, it is widely believed that in most of the period of Indian history, it was the smaller states or the regional states which existed. Because India is so culturally or geographically diversified, it is very difficult to create a big empire. So multi-state system is the common feature of Indian polity. मतलब इसमें ये कहा गया है कि देखिए, पहले आप मानते थे कि जो बड़ा एम्पायर होता है वो बड़ा एम्पायर प्रोग्रेस का सिंबल है और जो छोटी छोटी स्टेट है वो डिक्लाइन का वजह है। लेकिन इनका ये कहना है कि ऐसी बात नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट द फैक्ट। क्योंकि इनका कहना है कि इंडिया है वो बहुत क्या कहोगे उसको, डाइवर्सिफाइड, मतलब यहाँ बहुत भिन्नता है। तो इतना बड़ा है और इतना डाइवर्सिफिकेशन है यहाँ कि जो बड़ा बड़ा स्टेट होता है जो जो एम्पायर है वो एम्पायर हिस्ट्री में बहुत कम टाइम में हुआ, जैसे मौर्य एम्पायर, गुप्ता एम्पायर, यू कैन काउंट ऑन योर फिंगर्स हाउ मेनी एम्पायर्स एग्जिस्टेड इन इंडिया। मौर्य एम्पायर, गुप्ता एम्पायर, प्रतिहारा एम्पायर, देन सुल्तान सल्तनत एम्पायर मीन्स की तुगलक्स एंड खिलजी एम्पायर, खिलजी एंड तुगलक्स एम्पायर, and then Mughal Empire. So you can count the empires: Magad Empire, Maurya Empire. In this way, Gupta Empire, Harsaj Empire, then Pratiharaj Empire, then Sultanate Empire, and then Mughal Empire. So you will count them at the 8 to 10 empires. But in other parts of Indian history, the regional states of the multi-state system has become the common feature. तो पहली बात तो अपने दिमाग से आप फितूर ये निकाल दीजिए कि एम्पायर है वो प्रोग्रेस का सिंबल है और छोटा स्टेट डिक्लाइन का सिंबल है, ये इनका कहना है। दूसरा, even though the Mughal Empire was on the verge of decline, but the successor states as well as some other states established competent administration in their respective territories. They ensured law and order situation and encouraged commercial activities. Examples are Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore, and Travancore, etc. Actually, they have also tried to prove that don't to you can say degrade the regional states, whether Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore. They could have given the very progressive and very efficient government in their respective areas. They were not lacking in governance, and they were not, you can say, faltering on the front of government. Faltering means कि they were not, faltering मतलब होता है कि वो कोई अच्छे गवर्नमेंट देने में कभी चूके नहीं। उन्होंने अपने अपने रीजन में बड़े अच्छी अच्छी सरकारें दी, बड़ी अच्छी अच्छी सरकारें बनाई, अच्छे गवर्नमेंट दिए, बहुत अच्छा काम किया, रीजनल आर्ट को प्रमोट किया, रीजनल इकोनॉमी को इनकरेज किया। जो रिकालसिट्रेंट का मतलब है जो विद्रोही जमींदार थे, रेबेल जमींदार थे, तो रिकालसिट्रेंट जमींदार को डिसिप्लिन किया, रेवेन्यू सिस्टम को रिऑर्गेनाइज किया। सो दे हैव डन द वेरी गुड जॉब। मतलब ये मत कहो कि वो सब डिक्लाइन का प्रतीक है। और पॉइंट थर्ड, इकोनॉमिकली इट शुड नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज ए पीरियड ऑफ डेके ड्यू टू फॉलोइंग रीजंस। अब इकोनॉमिकली इसको कम से कम आप डिक्लाइन तो मत मानिए, क्योंकि देयर वाज इंक्रीज in trade due to involvement of the European companies. During this period, huge amount of bullion. Bullion means, what is bullion? Precious metal is bullion. अब suppose you can say gold and silver. If you are using gold and silver as jewelry, so that is with cosmetic purpose, jewelry. But if you are preserving gold and silver as your wealth, then that is bullion. So precious metal is characterized as bullion. Company during this period, huge amount of bullion in form of gold and silver was flowed to India. मतलब there is the sign by why you are taking this period as the period of decay. Maybe कि Mughal Empire might have faced the moment of economic crisis. This is the basic problem of the Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire might have faced the economic crisis, but this is not the true of India as a whole. India was, at that time, India was manifesting the movement of economic prosperity, because this is the period European companies were just pumping gold and silver in India as the result of the trade, because they were exporting Indian products to Europe and gold and silver was being pumped into India. So how can you say this is the period of the economic decline? Next one, due to contact with the European companies, tobacco, potato, maize cultivation started in 17th century. Means ki as a result of the contact with the European companies, कैश क्रॉप्स वेर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन इंडिया। मतलब यहाँ पर नकदी फसलों की खेती हो रही है, कैश क्रॉप्स है उसकी खेती हो रही है और बड़े कैश क्रॉप्स का प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है, तो इससे इकोनॉमी, एग्रीकल्चर का भी एक्सपेंशन हो रहा है, तो ये सब प्रोग्रेस हो रहा है, तो इसको आप डिक्लाइन क्यों कर रहे हैं? On one hand, although the Mughal Empire disintegrated, but the tradition of Mughal art, architecture, painting, music remained at regional level. Even the regional rulers promoted the policy of religious harmony. जैसे देखिए, मुगल एम्पायर नहीं रहा, मुगल एम्पायर का डिसइंटीग्रेशन हुआ, लेकिन जो मुगल आर्ट एंड कल्चर है, जैसे मुगल में तुम देखोगे मुगल के बहुत सारे हैं आर्किटेक्चर है, मुगल आर्किटेक्चर, मुगल म्यूजिक, ध्रुपद म्यूजिक, ख्याल म्यूजिक, मुगल ध्रुपद, ख्याल, गजल, ये सब रीजनल स्केल पर रीजनल जो स्टेट्स हैं वो पैट्रोनाइज कर रहे हैं. देन यू कैन से पेंटिंग्स, मुगल पेंटिंग्स दैट वाज बीइंग पैट्रोनाइज एट द रीजनल लेवल. Mughal music, Mughal paintings, Mughal art. So regional states were patronizing them. So even after the disintegration of Mughal Empire, Mughal art and literature was expanding at the regional level. Urdu became the Juban of Delhi, Juban of Hindustan. मतलब Urdu became a popular language in India as a whole. It was representing the complete culture. तो मुगल एम्पायर के डिक्लाइन के बाद भी मुगल कल्चर वैनिश नहीं किया, वो रीजनल स्केल पर एक्सपैंड कर रहा है. Due to the aforementioned regions, the second half of the 18th century is now considered as early modern period. अब इसको डिक्लाइन का फेज नहीं, इसको अर्ली मॉडर्न पीरियड के नाम से जाना जाता है. तो इसके बाद आई विल डील विद द क्वेश्चंस लेटर. माय स्टूडेंट्स, आई विल डील विद द क्वेश्चन 3 क्वेश्चंस टुमारो, देन आई विल गो फर्दर. बट मिस्टर अंकुर आस्क फ्रॉम माय स्टूडेंट्स, आर दे ओके? एनी क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम देयर साइड? क्लास कुछ समझ में आया? Give me 2 and 3 days. In 2 and 3 days you will be more comfortable. मेरे जो इंग्लिश वाले हैं वो ठीक हैं, और मेरे जो प्योरली इंग्लिश वाले हैं वो ठीक हैं. आई एम कंसर्न अबाउट बोथ माई स्टूडेंट्स. Okay, my students, I will continue. Tomorrow I will deal with three long questions, and tomorrow, my friends, I will bring 5 multiple choice question, and I will put the 5 multiple choice question on the board, and you people are supposed to answer my questions. So please, you will make a revision of the first half of 18th century, and after making the revision, you will attend tomorrow's class, and I will hope you to answer all the 5 questions simultaneously. So I am stopping the class here. My time is over, my students. I have told you 1 hour 15 minutes, and then from 10th onwards, you will be involved into geography as well. So you will be sufficiently busy from 10th February onwards. So I am stopping here my lecture. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next one class.